Thank you, Your Honor. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am about to call forth my first witness. The testimony that you will receive will give you absolutely no doubt as to the qualities, both positive and negative, of my client, from which you will surely be able to determine whether or not my client is a possible person of interest to you. I now call forth my first witness, a character witness, as you would. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am here to discuss my client, Twilight 2000, 2nd edition, with you. In our previous character witness, we discovered the ancestor of this game, Twilight 2000, 1st edition, and created a character using the process in the book. For the most part, fairly accurately, there were one or two minor inconsistencies which were pointed out to us by members of the online community who loved these games and didn't want to see it misrepresented. I made a few small errors. Nothing that drastically impacted the character, however. The work that I did still bore fruit. You got a taste of what making a character for Twilight 2000 was like for the 1st edition. Working your way through the character worksheet and rolling up character stats, deciding slights and favoritism, eventually figuring out term of service, and all the various skills that you could get, trying to get into a branch that fit your service idea, what you wanted your character to do, and hoping the dice gods smiled on you so that you could qualify. So, when we made the character, it took a fair amount of time. I'd say between 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on familiarity and how much gear you have to buy, how many skills you have to allocate. It could have been done a bit faster if I'd have gone with more advanced levels of skill and just fewer. And also if I had put my money into single large purchases, which I did, rather than spreading it out. It took me about an hour to make the entire character. Realistically, with familiarity and having a specific character in mind, it may take a bit less. But in general, what that taught us about Twilight 2000 1st edition was that the game is a fairly rugged system. It doesn't allow your dice to basically fill in for roleplay. You are still very much the actor for your character. None of the skills that you have are really going to be fill-ins for personal interaction. That's still on the player to do that. What the skills do are basically fairly straightforward, resolve any kind of conflict or situation, what your character can and can't do, which is what most of the rules for role-playing games are. The rules were fairly simple. Nothing too complicated, although it took a little while to get there. Once your character was finished, you had a pretty good idea of what your character was capable of, and because it was a percentile-based system, what your odds of success were going to be. Now, there were some flaws, certainly, some areas for improvement. The characters were all strongly slanted towards American military, with no other real options for character creation. Supposedly you could make characters from other nationalities and such, but realistically the impact on your character was next to nil. There were a decent selection of different weapons, all with their own stats and everything, but those statistics were fairly simplified. It wasn't going to lead to epic duels between skilled users of two different guns and taking advantages of one model's strengths versus another model's weaknesses. It was a fairly simplified system, easy to play, and relatively simple to pick up, especially if you have experience with role-playing games already. Now, we're going to take a look at the 2nd edition, and by noting the differences between the two editions, which I will hearken on as I do this, we will see the areas that the designers thought, and in many cases noted, that changes needed to be made, and ways that they elaborated the game. The manual is considerably bigger, and the reliance on all the tables seems to be somewhat less from my casual page through. But we're going to go and step by step and make this character. For the character sheet, I just Googled Twilight 2000 character sheet, and I copied the one that I found first. Looks like a fairly nice character sheet, although unfortunately it was in color, so there's going to be some gray areas on here. But this was from... well, it's rather complicated, but I'll give credit when finish up the video. So, with that being said, I'd like to introduce our character witness together. Twilight 2000, 2nd edition. Well, here we are. We have the character sheets in front of us, and we are prepared to make these characters. So, first of all, I'll tell you this. I've done a little bit of glancing through the book to prepare myself, and this is laid out far better than the first. Much less rough, more with the idea that somebody is coming in from the outside into a game and explaining things as they go, which is very nice. They give an overview of the character creation in that. Your character, first of all, exists as a background. You decide on the nationality and gender of the character and the name for him or her. Then you roll your attributes, or select them. There's options for both, just like there were for there are options for the first edition. Then you come out with experience. This time, instead of getting dumped with a bunch of experience, you figure out which path your character's life took, and that'll give you different options. We'll go over that as we go, but that is definitely the biggest change and the most exciting part of this game. And then the Wartime, which is an interesting mechanic for figuring out when your character will actually be in wartime, and that'll give even almost any basic character at least basic training in military stuff, because everybody's going to be drafted, and everybody who survives up to this point will have those kind of abilities. Then you figure out all of your derived values, your hit bonuses and everything, and then your equipment. And then you'll have a finished character. Now, I did download this character sheet. It has a character generation worksheet similar to the first, but it's far less necessary in this case. As long as you have a pencil with an eraser, the old one will work. The thing that makes me the saddest is that I was not able to find a copy of the original character sheet, which is very clean, low detail. There's not a great deal to the character sheet, but actually that would have made it a little easier for you watching this to see everything. The actual character sheet is... their official character sheet is this right here. This is something that anybody with basic skills would be able to cobble something like this together. It's really very simple. Actually, yeah, let's do it this way. So, yeah, this is a bare bones character sheet, your personal information, your abilities and skills, your contacts, equipment, and your to-hit numbers and everything. So, let's go about the process of making this sheet and finishing the character. So first of all, background. You need to figure out your character's name and nationality. Well, that can actually just be written on the main character sheet because that's not going to change. Interestingly enough, this is going to be something that is going to be an interesting change, is that you figure out your let's go back and start this over again. Not real happy with how that turned out. All right. Here we have our character sheets. In this case, this game is a little bit simpler. It does not require a character worksheet to go through because there is no math and heavy lifting, except for very basic math. But in this character sheet that we got, designed by Argonauta, and I will put the link down in gratitude, posted at the bottom of the sheet, but realistically, this was just the first character sheet that popped up on Google, and it's fine. The only downside to it is it's a little too fine print. I thought for this, having the original sheet, which is this, would have been easier. I mean, it's wide open and fairly simple to read. But unfortunately, I could not find a PDF online, and my scanner's down. So we'll just go with this. It's a very well laid out sheet, very thoughtful for all of the stuff that it has room for. Now, the second edition book is vastly better laid out than the first edition was. I mean, they got more experience with making game journals and game manuals and made it more user-friendly, which is excellent. This one has an overview section, which goes over the various parts of making a character. It's fairly simple, not much math. You come up with a background for your character, which is your nationality, gender, and name. Then you roll your attributes, or you can determine them using a preset amount of points that you spread between. Then you have experience. This is the huge change between this edition and first edition. This is also hopefully going to make things vastly, vastly quicker. In that, instead of having a huge dump of experience points that you have to spread between the skills, instead you choose 4-year increments of your life and how you spent them, and that's what gives you skills. And then you have an interesting mechanic that determines how far along in your career or your life you were before war broke out. Then there is a 4-year block of war where you learn military skills if you didn't have any basic training. And yeah, almost every character goes through basic training. There's only a couple of paths that don't. So at the very least, you should be able to shoot your gun without shooting yourself in the foot. And then finally is picking equipment, which is probably going to be one of the longest parts of this, honestly. Your background as far as sex and nationality, since that's not going to change through character generation, we can just come up with it. I thought for fun, we'd make a Cajun from Louisiana. Marcus LaRue. And of course, brilliant person that I am, I put that in the player's name. So I am still, of course, me, so I'm just going to put Rob. Gender, male. Truth be told, as a preference, I rarely play cross-gender. I don't know if it takes a little bit away from the immersion and everything, and honestly, in most games, it has absolutely zero impact. It's just something I've never been a huge... not that I'm not saying anybody shouldn't do it, it's just what I don't do. There have been notable exceptions, and I've had some fun doing it, but not for this character. Eyes, blue-eyed, brown hair. Nationality, American. And all this other stuff, service branch and rank, we are going to hold off on. Now we get to the character generation part. That's the background. Use a Cajun. Native language. All characters receive a 10-level skill in their language. So, native language, English, and you get a 10. Interesting thing. They did drop the percentile system for a base D10 system, basically truncating the values. Cuts down on the math and still maintains pretty much faithfulness to the base system. From what I've observed, it looks like that's basically the only changes. When I was making my character out for first edition, basically I had everything in blocks of 10% to, or at worst 5%, just to make things go quicker. because you had a lot of experience points to spread. In this case, you don't have to worry about that. The system works a bit differently, but it's roll a d10, see if the number is equal to or lower than your value. It's percentile without having to go down to the fine-tuning of that extra ones place, which is good. Certainly won't miss it for when the lead starts flying. Okay, nationality determines language. So there are a couple of titles, not many. Tables, I should say. And language would be one that I'll have to refer to. The language list. Okay. Army, nationality, and native language. I will need a 10-sided die for this. I beg your pardon that I'm a little unprepared, which is not like me. So we have a D10. We need a D6 at some point too. Alright, so I will, looking at the table, Army, nationality, native language. I have under American, English is my primary language. And I have chances to have Spanish, German, Italian, Polish, and Yiddish. I wish I had an option for French, because, being Cajun ties to the French. But we'll go with that. In order to know Spanish, I need a 1 or a 2. I rolled a 1. Hey, my character knows Spanish as well. Well, that's not understandable. There are certainly large populations of Spanish-speaking people down south. So we also have a 10 in Spanish. Yay! Now, languages are one thing that has been actually consistently important in Twilight 2000. The first edition had a section on language as well. Depending on your game master and the thrust of your story, it may make absolutely zero difference, and it may be hugely important. So I'm actually quite pleased that I got a secondary language. Had I not gotten that, I would have needed to roll a 1 against the other languages to see if I would have gotten them. The first edition having down to like 1% of chance of learning Yiddish, that was almost not worth having in there since your chances are so small. So this is a little bit better already. So we have our languages. Now. Player should choose name. So many languages, don't need that. Alright, attributes. The simplest of terms, 6 basic attributes. Strength, agility, constitution, charisma, intelligence, and education. Again, these are your basic attributes as you've had since Dungeons and Dragons, with the exception of wisdom being taken out for education. Again, there is a charisma stat here, which is a sizable change. You can actually have force of personality as dictated by a die roll. This is something that might be a little bit of follow the leader, since a lot of other games did this. I don't feel that it weakens the game. It's just an interesting thing to note. So, random generation or allocation. Random generation gives you only minimal control over your attributes. And to do that, I'm going to go both ways on this, actually. So, random generation, you roll 2 6-sided dice and subtract 2 from the total. That gives you a number between 0, which is upgraded to 1. Or actually, no, you get to re-roll. So, if you roll a Snake Eyes. If you roll a Boxcars, you roll 2 6s, then you would have a 10, the maximum available. The average of 2 dice rolls, the bell curve, rests at 7, so subtract 2 from 7, and the bell curve is at 5, which is a little under average. Average being 5 or 6 if you go on a spread between 1 to 10. So most of your numbers will fall into that bell curve. And if you want to allocate, you would have a total of 32 points to spread between the attributes. No attribute can have a value of 0 or more than 10. So, since the percentages, most of your characters rolling 2d6 are going to be less than 32. I would generally go with 32, but yeah, we're going to roll some dice and see what the dice gods give us for a character. I'd like to be surprised in this case. And we start off with the dice gods kicking us in the teeth, a 1 in strength. And a 2 in agility. Wow. And a 4 in constitution. Oh, and there we go. Boxcars in intelligence. My character is absolutely the biggest egghead the game will show. It'd be hilarious if I got another boxcars in education. No, my character is brilliant, but he's unfortunately dumb as very, very uneducated. And oh, look at this. Boxcars in charisma. This is quite frankly ridiculous. Okay, in here you would write down what you rolled, you would modify it, and then you would have your final stat. I am perfectly capable of subtracting 2 from each number. So I already did that. Oh my gosh. This is this kind of a game. This character will be nearly unplayable. He'll be completely helpless. He's so weak. He's so clumsy. He's not very healthy, and he's completely uneducated. He would be brilliant in the real world. You know, he could be a high-end doctor, or... You know what? We're still going to go with this. We're going to see how feasible the absolute weirdest character I can roll will be. We're just not going to pick your typical military path, clearly. This character would walk into basic training and they'd go home, son. Wait until about 10 years when you've gotten, muscles. Wow, that's the joy of rolling dice, Okay, so, however, adding things together, we have a 29-point character, which is not terrible. I mean, it's less than what I could have gotten, but the pair of 10s is amusing. Oh yeah, a player who rolls attributes totaling less than 30 points may add attribute points to bring the total up to 30. You're always at least average. Okay, I get pity points. So I get 1 pity point to put somewhere. Because shooting and things in this game are based on strength, I'll raise my strength total up to a 2. So I'm feeble, I'm childlike in strength, but at least it's not as terrible. Ah, boy. This is not going to be a traditional character. You guys are going to have to bear with me. And if you guys want to see me make an actual military soldier who can stand up in a fight, I'll make another character at some point if somebody wants. But this is going to be a fun ride. Okay, so meaning of the attributes: strength, how strong I am, clearly not. Agility, how nimble I am, clearly not. Constitution, how healthy I am, affects your resistance to disease and amount that you can take. I'm somewhat below average. Intelligence, how brilliant you are as far as abstract reasoning, how fast you can learn. My character is brilliant. An absolutely unheralded genius. Education, how much education? Apparently I was down in the bayou because... yeah, I've got none of that. No real education to speak of. And your charisma is the extent to which you are attractive to and trusted by strangers. I am rock godlike. This is physical appearance and sensitivity and natural charm. Nobody would want to shoot my character. I'm too pretty. Oh my gosh. All right, well, this is going to be funny. All right, So, characters will have to carry out many difficult and dangerous tasks over the course of the game. I hope not. My character isn't going to survive very long in this case. All right, the characters start out at age 17 with certain minimum skills. You get to pick your background skill list. The skills that you have to choose from go between language, swimming, wheeled vehicle, computer, melee combat, unarmed, horsemanship, fishing, small boat, motorcycle, tracking, and farming. These are the things that you would have picked up through childhood. So you can learn to drive a car before you're 17. That's wheeled vehicle. It's possible to be multilingual. That's what language does for you. As far as melee combat, kids can take martial arts courses, and that'll help them throughout their lives. So all of these are non-military application skills that your character would have. And you get 2 points in that per skill, which roughly equates to a 20% in game terms. Enough to let you try. And let's face it, if you have a 2 in, for example, horsemanship, riding a horse won't cause you to roll anything. It's when you try to do something tricky on the horse that only having a 2 is going to really bite you. So, first of all, my character is going to be on the bayou. Oh boy. So I'm going to take language French. You know, because he's going to have that crazy grandmother who only speaks French. Or such a horrified version of Cajun that he had to know French in order to communicate with her as well. Swimming down in the bayou sounds like a good idea. Wheeled vehicle, we're going to go no. We're going to give him small boat for those fan boats. Let's say he learned how to drive one of those. And how about for hunting in the bayou, tracking? Tracking or fishing? Tracking or fishing? We'll say he hunted. We'll give him tracking. Alright, so we have 4 skills picked out. Yes, the reason why we are not directly putting these on the main character sheet is because those skills can be supplemented with our experiences. And as you do that, the numbers just add. You don't have to, add 5% to, 35%. If you have a skill of 2 and you add a point or 2, then you increase that by a point or 2. Okay, players have a reasonably free hand in choosing their detailed character background. This is much unlike the first edition, where you could try for a particular branch, but whether or not you'd get it is, completely up in the air. Also, your number of skills is not going to be so heavily impacted by your statistics. The fact that I have a terrible education primarily means that I'm not going to get into officer training likely. It's not going to mean my character is really going to be held back by his lack of education. Okay, now, also I was able to come up to where other people might be stat-wise. These stats are going to impact your the things in your game a bit more than the first edition did. Okay, military careers and common careers. Again, we figure out what we're going to do, and now we'll just do that. Looking at the different options for what your character can do, we start out with the career list. There's 3 primary branches, much like there were 3 areas of experience in first edition. You have education, you have civilian occupations, and you have military. And before it was backgrounds and education and military. So we're going to figure out what my character did. Now, again, he's not a genius. So his options are going to be somewhat limited. This gets him fresh out of high school with what I have right now at 17. So we have to figure out where we're going to go with that. Would we go into education? I feel kind of bad going into education considering his education is so poor. Looking at the options, graduate university, clearly not. His education is far too low. Likewise, law school, can't do it. Medical school, you would have to get an undergraduate degree, and you need an education of 5 or more for that. So that's just not going to happen. National Military Academy, education of 6 or more. Nope, frozen out of that as well. So, technical school, no prerequisites. I could go into technical school. A total of 4 levels from any one of the combination of the following: aircraft mechanic, computer, electronics, gunsmith, mechanic, metallurgy, machinist, medical, or pilot. And I would gain a specialist contact, and that would be about it. I'm thinking with my character's huge charisma and huge intelligence, I'm not going to go into trades. I think we're going to pass schooling altogether. So, we're going to look at civilian occupations. Attorney, law school, nope. Civil engineer, nope. Commercial pilot, well, we have no piloting skills, so nope. Computer operator, programmer, technical school or undergraduate, nope. Construction worker, strength 4 or more, nope. We're in trouble. Criminal, agility 5 or more. I can't even be a criminal. I'm so clumsy. No. Entertainer, charisma 8 or more. Ladies and gentlemen, we may have a winner. What would that give you? It would give you the skills persuasion, disguise, and observation. And if you continue going on as an entertainer, you can gain the following skills: melee combat, horsemanship, motorcycle, parachute, small boat, swimming, language, persuasion, disguise. Contacts in government or entertainment. And random NPCs may recognize you as a favorite TV or movie star. Oh my gosh. That seems like it's going to be the fate of my character, but we'll also check out other options. Factory worker, not with my charisma. That would give you just a few small skills: mechanic and machinist, with subsequent term skills. Okay, that is clearly a last gasp option if you have nothing else, or if you have a factory worker in mind for your character. Farmer, no prereq. Farming and mechanic. Nope, my character's not a farmer. Federal law enforcement, law school, nope. Government agent. You know, I originally wanted to make a federal agent, somebody who worked for the CIA who was caught overseas in the group. That was my first concept. Undergraduate degree, nope. The sad thing is, I'm held back by that. Intelligence 6 or more and charisma 6 or more, I'd be a brilliant government agent. I just can't get by my complete lack of education. But I thought that would be a cool character to play, you know, somebody who's used to working, you know, overseas and having a variety of skills that would be useful, but not a strict soldier. It could have been fun. But anyhow, idle rich. Charisma of 8 or more, that's your only entry point. I know a lot of uncharismatic rich people, but nope. Idle rich, 8 or more. You get a variety of 4 skills, and there's no first blush that you have to get into. These are computer, horsemanship, instruction, motorcycle, wheeled vehicle, small boat, swimming, language, and persuasion. Wow. You get contacts of wealthy or government, and you get double the money available unless he enters the military in his final term. The only way to avoid this is by certain careers. I know from this game, if you are in a civilian trade, you go into the military in your final one. There's only 2 professions that don't. One of them is a government agent, and I can't remember the other one offhand. But everybody else goes into the military and then, so that would get rid of your advantage of being idle rich. Yeah, so idle rich sounds pretty weak. If you're going to make a comedy character, like, you know, Thurston Howell from Gilligan's Island as a soldier, that could be played for laughs, but it's not going to make a very effective character, and I frankly don't want to do that to the game. Journalist. I have a charisma that's high enough I could be a journalist. That's actually not terrible. Again, not going to help as a great soldier, but interrogation, persuasion, computer, and observation. And getting several contacts, which isn't terrible either. A manager, undergraduate degree, can't do it. Mechanic, no prerequisite. My character's too pretty to be a mechanic. Not a doctor, not a paramedic. Politician. Politicians are the other class that does not get drafted into the military. Entry, charisma 8 or more. First term skills, you get persuasion and leader. Subsequent skills, persuasion, leader, language, interrogation, instruction, and observation. Oh my. And you get a lot of contacts. Well, it's an interesting start if my character tried to get into politics to begin with. My complete lack of education in law does mean that I would be just the average guy who charms everybody into voting for him. That could be entertaining. We'll take a look at what else is available. Prison. This is if you got captured while engaged in criminal activity. And that just gives you 4 criminal-based skills. Interesting, but my character's too pretty for jail. Private investigator. He has the intelligence and charisma that would give him a variety of skills, including small arms, pistol, so that could help defensively. And then as he continues on, he gets a variety of other skills that are a little bit more useful for skullduggery. Couple contacts, okay. Professor, nope. State, local law enforcement, no prison record, that's the only requirement. You get training in pistol, interrogation, observation. So my character, despite the fact that he's completely feeble and clumsy, could be a police officer. That's entertaining as an idea. I'd be the smartest and most charismatic police officer. I would be into recruiting. I would have so many little police officers coming on board. And the last one is truck driver. Everything after that is military, and I kind of feel bad because, in this case, I'm not really considering military. I could do it. My character could come in as an infantryman, but boy, I just don't have the stats that really make that believable. My character would wash out of basic training unless you consider how desperate they are in the face of World War III. But we're kind of stress testing this a little bit, so let's see if we can make a viable character who is a honest-to-God rock star. This could be fun. So, first term skills. I get career entertainer. I am the Cajun sensation. Who... This is just crazy. Okay. Agility, intelligence, charisma, okay. So, contacts would be 1 per turn. Roll a d10. 5. I get a domestic, government, or entertainment contact. Okay, well, we get a government contact. Secondary ability, or secondary activity. Well, first of all, we can write down what we get. So, we get our first term skills. We're going to have Persuasion 1, Disguise 2, Observation 1. Looking at the main sheet, these are all going to be charisma based, I suspect. Persuasion 1. Disguise 2. It's also charisma based. And Observation 1. That's probably under intelligence, isn't it? No, it's not. Observation. Observation, does that look like it's based off of any statistic? So, observation. And we'd have 1. Okay. So then, after we do that, figure out the basic job experience. Secondary activities. The career chosen does not occupy 100% of the time. Obviously, as an entertainer. Often a person's hobbies and pastimes can provide valuable additional skills. You're allowed one secondary activity. This lets you take one level in any skill from the secondary activities chart. Okay. So some careers allow 2 secondary activities a term, others allow none. Apparently being a rock star is not going to allow me an additional one. Which you'd think would kind of surprising. You'd think they'd have a lot more free time. But my secondary activities I can choose from are disguise from neighborhood theater. I already have that. We're good. Fishing, foraging for camping. If my character is a legendary outdoorsman, for example, like a Ted Nugent. Yeah. Horsemanship, the hunting bow for archery. Again, see Ted Nugent. Language. If I'm going to be a performer, like a singer, a rock star, language might not be a bad thing. Medical, CPR and first aid lessons. Motorcycle, mountaineering, rock climbing. Observation, bird watching. Parachute, skydiving. Pilot, flying lessons. And a number of entertainers I know of have some skill in flying. Scuba, skin diving. Small arms, target shooting. Small boat, boating. Snow skiing, swimming, tracking, that's hunting. Melee combat, martial arts. Wheeled vehicle, increasing your strength, weightlifting, increasing your constitution, jogging, increasing your education, adult education, and night school. So I could raise my attributes. Theoretically, I could raise my education up to a point that I can then later qualify for some of these other things. My character could go back to school, for instance. I really should have read that in advance. That's actually fairly surprising. However, why do that when the world is laid out for you on a platter as in entertainment? So I'm not going to do that. But boy, that does open up. There's almost nothing that's really prevented from you unless your character just is not intelligent or charismatic. But a lot of the other stuff can be spoofed. That's kind of interesting. Can't increase your agility either, so my character is stuck being clumsy. So he's not going to be an action star. I'm not going to worry about things like martial arts. However, it might be nice to be able to drive your own vehicle. So we're going to take wheeled vehicle. He's going to... Excuse me. Want to drive himself around at least. Even if he's not very good at it. And that would allow him to get a point. 1 level of any 1 skill. Some careers allow 2, others allow more, allow none. Okay. So that is our first 4 years. This takes my character up to age of 21. He is a teen sensation who becomes an adult sensation. So after that, starts at age 18. And you have to spend 1 for your term. Yes. And then contacts. We have a government agent. Government agent as a contact. And don't have to determine any more on that just now. Then, at the end of each term, roll 1d10. If the roll is equal to or less than your current term number, war breaks out. So, if I roll a 1, war breaks out. 8. No war. Then you would have 1 term under fire. So, we're not going to do that. Alright. So... we are going to then look at the next 4-year term. If I stay as an entertainer, I will still be able to get a couple of skills that will be, my character already has a massive charisma. Continuing on with, with disguise and persuasion, my character can already persuade the pants off just about anybody with that level of skill. I I can obviously keep increasing it. There are going to be some things that are going to be really difficult to do. Learning new languages is useful as well. And as some, motorcycle, melee combat. If I have to learn to defend myself, I'm in a lot of trouble, as weak as I am. But I really don't see anywhere else my character would realistically flock to. I mean, I could go to... after you're entertainer for a while, you could go to being idle rich. Which actually would be kind of funny. Or do I... Oh, yeah, here we go. This is a life path thing. So I could do entertainer for a couple of years, then get into politician, because goodness knows there are celebrity politicians, and then go into being idle rich. Yeah, let's try this. Let's see if we can get away with this. We're going to continue being an entertainer. Okay, so we need several skills. We're going to take a couple more in persuasion. We are eventually going to be able to persuade absolutely anybody. So we are going to put 2 points into persuasion. Because I'm a rock star. I do a terrible Cajun impression, unfortunately. Language. Yeah, you know what? The German scene is pretty good. Let's pick up German. It'll just be a smattering, but why not? Where's languages? And yeah, okay. Quick notes, 3 points, initiative points and skill points, derive values, no. No section here for languages, okay. Not under education, nope. Either you know it or you don't know it. So we're going to have German 1. And let's take, let's take another, let's get our disguise up to 3. Alright, so now our character is really good at this whole disguise and persuasion thing. Let's check his contact. 8 or more. 1 per term. Oh, I need an 8 or more for the contact to be in government. Otherwise, it's entertainment. Okay, so I have 1 entertainment contact. Ah, there's a 10. Okay, now I have a government contact. So, government. Possibly a mentor figure for the young man. Entertainment for the first year contact. Maybe an agent. Secondary activity I get to choose from. I should get something that will be useful to me down the road, just because, my life path will take me out that far. And my character, I think we said, as far as his background of tracking, he would be hunting. So we're going to take small arms for hunting. So there's a point in small arms, which is based under strength. Okay, so now we check for war breaking out again. A 1 or a 2, war will break out. And without turning the die, it's a 3. I got another year of... Yeah. This is going to be so bizarre. I'm going to push my luck and do another year of entertainer. right, we are going to take... let's take a little melee combat. You know, sometimes you got to swing a bat. Melee combat is the general one under armed martial arts. So we're just going to take one. It's broken up in, I'm guessing, a later edition, but for right now, yeah, we'll take one for that. Which will qualify for anything I have, I suspect. Yeah, this would be an example of a cascade skill where you'd pick one thing and it would kind of force you to specialize. My character would specialize instead of long blades, short blades, pole arms, and clubs. Well, baseball bat. Keep a baseball bat in the trunk. It's a good idea if you're a celebrity. So, melee combat, horsemanship, motorcycle. Yeah, okay. We're going to keep ratcheting up the persuasion. We'll take 2 more points in persuasion, bringing that up to a 5. My character is used to getting what he wants. He is, well, he's filthy rich. And with a 10 charisma and 5 persuasion, I can't imagine too many things my character is not going to be able to get away with. We'll say he gets back to his roots a little bit with more of the small boat. You know, being the fan boats in the south. Of course, by now he's also rocking his own yacht. So, small boat is probably agility based. No? Small watercraft. Constitution. Oh, great. Well, that's fine. We'll have a 3 in that when it's all said and done. Oh, languages are under charisma. Excellent. We have English, Spanish, French, and German. They start out at 10, 10, 2, and 1 right now. We'll get in more with my German crowd. Go up to 2. So 1, 2, 3, and martial arts. 4. My 4 points are spent. Contacts again. Let's see if I get another government contact. It is. Yeah, I get another government contact. That can't be bad. Government contact. And another background skill, or secondary, sorry, secondary activity. We'll say, oh, I do. You can buy anything you need. I don't need foraging. Let's go with... Let's raise his constitution by 1. Say he was into the jogging. He suddenly had a fitness thing. So his con goes up to a 5. Okay. I think that's a good use of his abilities. Now, there's a few other columns and things here which would, I'm sure they're probably, you know, further add-ons and additions to the game, but we're just going to go with this for now because I only have the deluxe edition book. So we're at this point. Now we check again to see if war broke out. On a 1, 2, or a 3, war breaks out. And we have an 8. No, war did not break out. So, now we go on to Lifestyles of the Idle Rich. just for fun. Like I said, we're going to make an interesting character. He won't be able to shoot very well, but if you want a face-type character, this character will be brilliant. Spending 12 years in the entertainment field, yeah. As an entertainer, high charisma. Now we go to Idle Rich. A total of 4 levels from any one of the combination of the following: computer, horsemanship, instruction, motorcycle, wheeled vehicle, small boat, swimming, language, and persuasion. It only seems appropriate to keep adding into persuasion. But I can rely on my laurels, rest of my laurels here. So, swimming? Yeah, we can spend our time swimming a lot. So we had 2, we put a point in, and that goes up to 3. Computer. My character is so smart. Maybe this is the time when he breaks into the computer field and becomes obsessed with computers. You know, you think about it, at this point he is 29 to 33. So, assuming this takes place in the 2000, timeline, computers are, have been jumping in leaps and bounds. At the very best, if I roll nothing but 10s on this die and hold out on war till the very end, my character would have time to go through, the early 90s or even early 80s with some knowledge of computers. I am going to pick up a bit of computer. I think I'm going to take 2 levels in computer, which is definitely going to be based off of your intelligence. No? That's computer. Come on. It's got to be here somewhere. Education. It's based off your education. Okay. Well, that's fine. I'll take 2 points in that. Oh, God. My education is so bad. I think, though, I am going to very possibly raise my education. The only thing is with Idle Rich, you're not that idle. You don't get a lot of secondary. There's no secondary option, secondary skills. So I can also take instruction. Is instruction based on charisma? Yes. So I'll take a point in instruction. So 2 in computer, 1 in instruction. Horsemanship, motorcycle, more small boat. No. Oh, did I take swimming? Yeah, 2 in computer, and 1 in swimming, and 1 in instruction. Okay, we're good. Instruction is my character went off from his entertainment, his rock star career to become rich and start doing talking bits. Which is going to lead him into the politician next. So this will be, this is going to be hilarious. All right, but this will be sad if I roll a 1, 2, 3, or 4 here and I'm drafted into war as Idle Rich. I don't want to do that. And 9. Yay, I can get into the political track. So now my character is rich. After being that amazing, amazing entertainer. Now we're going to go into politics. And as a politician, entry point, charisma of 8. The first term, you get 2 points of persuasion and 2 points of leadership. Oh my gosh. Alright, persuasion goes up to a 7. And 2 into leadership. Okay. This is going to be interesting. Subsequent term skills, blah, blah. And contacts, 3 per term. Journalism, government, or military. Okay. We're going to take... Oh, yeah. Idle Rich. I forgot that. Once per term. Wealthy or government. And roll a 6 or more to see if the contact is foreign. No. So we are going to take a wealthy contact. And now as a politician, we can spread our contacts around a little bit. With journalism, government, or military. I'm going to take a journalism. And we're going to take government and military. The way I understand contacts to work is if you kind of get into a position where you could know somebody and you have a contact free, that person could come up. I don't know if you have to predetermine them. That would seem to be a useful way of doing it. But, yeah, we'll just take a look at this. Okay, so we've got the contacts. Yay. When war breaks out, the character will not be drafted. Yay. Now, the advantage of this is, as idle rich, I would double the money available to the character unless I enter the military in my final term. And as a politician, I'm not going to be drafted into the military in my final term if I stick with politician. So I'll actually double the money I start with, which will be fine. Okay, let's see if war breaks out. I don't, again, get a secondary activity. I dedicate myself into being a politician. I rolled a 2. War breaks out. So, I continue being a politician, but this is wartime now. I serve out my last term. I have from an option of, we have observation, instruction, interrogation, language, leader, and persuasion. We have to determine what are the things that my character is going to do, and we're going to take 3 military contacts. Oh yeah, I have to roll to see if the contacts are foreign. First of all, we'll do it for the journalism contact. Yes. Foreign. The government contact. No. The military contact. No. So I've got 3 military contacts. I get to roll 3 times, trying to get a 7 or better to see if they're foreign. And I only rolled 1 10, which gives me 1 foreign. Okay, well, my character will be very strong in the States and not so strong out of the States. I still get to pick the 4 skills. Or, sorry, 3 skills. Persuasion, leader, language, interrogation, instruction. Okay, my character is going to become a true leader at this point. So, as far as leadership goes, we'll go from 2 to a 4. People will follow my character across a minefield if he's blindfolded. We'll raise observation, too. That could be pretty useful stuff. We'll raise that to a 2. Alright, war breaks out. This is going to have my character overseas, if that's where the combat or the scenario is going to start. Alright. Now, again, this game, I could have chosen any of those paths and moved in any different direction that I qualified for. Clearly not a lot in military. My lack of education, strength, agility, constitution really would have held me back. But in this case, I was able to take a civilian career, and it's going to be interesting how this character is going to shape up in the fires of war. Clearly, my character is not going to want to get into firefights, if at all possible. With his 1 in small arms, I'm, yeah, fairly useless in a fight. Obtaining skills. Automatically acquired languages, additional notes and skills. Yes. Okay, contacts, we got those. Contacted someone from your past, encountered at an opportune moment in an adventure session. You just happened to run into an old pal from your college days. So, yes, I will be able to dump a lot of contacts at my Game Master. I've got 1 in entertainment, 1, 2, 3 in domestic government, 1 in wealthy. And wealthy knows no bounds as far as nationality. Foreign journalist, a military contact, and actually a total of 3 military contacts domestic and 1 foreign. So, it's a lot of who you know. That can be really useful if the referee for the game lets it be useful. So, as far as wealthy, looking at what the different contacts do, talking about how those can be used. Basically, the referee decides how they get filtered in. So if I was running a game, I would definitely have a list of the resources that each character had as far as contacts to figure out when I could filter them in, and try to be careful not to spread them out. Okay, the war. At the end of each term, Once war breaks out, you have 1 term under fire. All regulars get 1 automatic promotion. I am not a reservist or a draftee. Regulars and recalled reservists get twice the normal number of skills allowed by their military career. They are not allowed a second activity. Okay. American civilian characters are drafted unless their character notes specify otherwise. They receive basic training. Civilian characters, government agents, exempt for the draft, may volunteer for service, in which case they are treated as draftees, or they remain as government agents. If so, they conduct a normal career term and find themselves with the other players. Yes! My character is going to be so useless to start out with. Government agents are allowed a second activity during this term. Oh, good. I get a secondary activity. That's nice. I didn't have one of those before. It's been a while since I've gotten some free time. I will take a little bit of... Like I said, education. I'm going to up my education to a 3. It's pitiful, yes, but not as pitiful as it was before. My character is just this guy that everybody loves with his classic colloquialisms and references to his pop star past. So, okay. So once we're done with that, we've got his wartime activities. Initiative. To determine initiative, regulars roll 1d6, reservists roll 1d6 plus 2, and draftees roll 1d6 plus 2 round down. Add 1, subtract 1, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's a hole. My character is neither a regular, a reservist, nor a draftee. I'm assuming, though, that I'm going to be treated like a draftee. So I'm going to roll 2, add 2, 4, and round down. That doesn't make sense. Regulars roll 1d6. There's no need to round. Subtract 1. Alright, well, since you're rolling a d6, I don't know where the rounding comes off, but that would give me an initiative of 4, which sounds average. So we'll see. Rads. To determine the exposure level of a military character in RADS, roll a number of d6 equal to initiative. To determine the exposure level of a civilian character in RADS, roll 1d6 and 1d10 and multiply the 2 die rolls by each other. Oh my gosh. So I could go from 1 to 60. Number of RADS. 10 and 2, 20 RADS. That I can write on the character sheet. Oh boy, we're in trouble. That actually doesn't sound too terrible. Military has a number of d6 equal to twice his initiative. So if I was in the actual military, I would roll 4 6-sided dice. No, 8 6-sided dice. Yeah. I like where I'm at. We're good at 20. Okay, effects of age. My character is 41. Determine the age of a character according to the number of background terms he's taken. Sort out the onset of debilities of age. Old age nails you in the strength, agility, and constitution. So you roll, and if you roll less than your current attribute, you lose a point off of that attribute. Because I am in my 6th term, I would roll 3 times against agility and 1 against strength. The good news is my stats are so low, my chances of actually reducing them are pretty slim. I would need to roll a 1 to drop me down to 1. That being said, I'm scared that I'm going to get even more feeble. Oh well, that's what we do. So, rolling against agility 3 times. There we go. We're at a 1. I can't roll below a 1, so I'm stuck with a 1 agility. I am pitiful. At the age of 33, I dropped down to a 1 agility. And because you can't increase agilities with backgrounds, there's nothing I can do. My character is hopelessly, hopelessly clumsy. Strength, I get 1 roll against that to see if I drop my strength down to a 1. 3. No, I at least survive with a strength of 2. Oh boy. This is... This character. Okay, hit capacity is a measure of the amount of damage, hits, or hit points a character could take before suffering serious injury. And they keep all the 7 parts of the body you can be shot in. So that's interesting. The hit capacity of your head is equal to twice your constitution. Okay, well, because the stats were in between 1 to 10 instead of between 1 to 20 like they were before, they can be a more accurate derivation than having to plug in math. So double my constitution is 8, so my head can take 8 points, which we hope never happens, of course. Head. I have no armor value, so we're just going to say 8. Now, it looks like it gets more, substantial along the... Yeah, there's just different levels of injury. That might be a further addition. We'll do more research, but right now we're figuring this part out. The hit capacity of the chest equaled 3 times the sum of his strength and constitution, so we're going to keep that up. So strength plus constitution is 2 plus 5. Oh, that's right, I have a 5. My bad. So I can actually take 10 points to the head. And the torso is what? 3 times the sum of 7. So 21 to the chest. And each of the other parts is equal to 2 times the sum of his strength and constitution. So 14 to everything else. I don't want to take fire. Fire will kill my character quickly. Weight in kilos equal to 90 plus 4 times strength minus agility. Ugh. Well, 4 times strength is 8. Minus 1, 1, 7, so it's 90, 97 kilos. Where was weight? Okay. This doesn't have that, 97 kilos. Branch, civilian. Rank, politician. If we're overseas, I'm going to guess my character is in a fact-finding mission and got caught when war broke out, which this is going to be funny. All right. Physiological differences, blah, blah, blah. Weight is different for a female character. We won't worry about that. Load can carry a considerable amount. Not my character. Do we have those numbers here? Here we go, load. Sum of his strength and constitution, 3 times is the number of kilos he can carry. So I'm going to write down his final stats, now that we know them after age. We have a 2 strength, a 1 agility, 5 constitution, 10 intelligence, 3 in education, and a 10 in charisma. So his load is 3 times his strength plus his constitution. Constitution of 5, strength 2, 3 times is 21 kilos. That's not a lot. That's expected because my character is feeble. Throw range. Oh. My personal load is what's important. There we go. Weight. 97 kilos. Load 21 kilos. Throwing range. This is basically for throwing things like grenades. 4 times your strength. Oh no. 8. 8 meters. I could barely throw a grenade. I don't think I can throw a grenade far enough to get out of its blast radius, unless it's a special grenade. Looks like I'm stuck to smoke grenades. Unarmed combat damage. Oh boy. It is equal to your melee combat unarmed, which I have none. By strength and dividing by 10, rounding fractions down, unless this would result in 0, in which case it is a 1. So 1. Gosh, this sucks. My initiative is a 4, again, because, yeah, that's what I rolled. Skill points, nothing going on there. Equipment. Okay, this is the buying part of it all. And soldiers accumulate gear, blah, 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 blah. Generally, you start out with a vehicle, which you would roll. And you can also get animals. And boy. Each vehicle begins the game with a full tank of alcohol, blah, blah. Buy equipment. Each character can buy equipment. To determine a character's equipment purchase in dollars, multiply the number of terms served in the military by 5,000. If enlisted, or 10,000 if an officer. Wait. Okay. Well, my character didn't spend any time in the military. But I'm rich. This is not meant to represent the actual amount purchase of equipment. Instead, oh my gosh, are you serious? Okay, since the gear that you start out with is assumed to be what you took out of the military because of, you know, your situation or your rank or what have you, my character has no military background at all. My character is privately wealthy, but doesn't start out with a lick of gear because I have no military experience, not as an officer or anything. This is a hole in the character creation. A big hole, too. Because as Idle Rich, I start with double. So I start with double of nothing. I'm guessing there may be some errata to that. I'm certainly hoping there's some errata to that. Because as of right now, my character is done because I don't get to start with anything. But I'm assuming the clothes on his back. Wow. Each character can buy equipment at the beginning of the game. As a representation of the value of the equipment you've accumulated over time. To determine equipment, multiply a number of terms served in the military. Terms spent in reserve component are counted if the character was active in the reserves. Even civilian characters are considered to have spent one term in the military. Okay. So I get to start with 5,000, double to $10,000. Ooh boy. All items of equipment are listed. Well, I have $10,000 to spend then. It's a good thing I spent a year, 4 years just being rich and enjoying myself because I wouldn't even have, I'd have $5,000. So $10,000. And yeah. Oh my goodness. They have a nice section in here about life in the service and what that's like and where you would have gone to train. Some slang military terms, which is nice. This is something that really was needed in the first edition to give you a sense of what life in the military was like and how it might have changed your character. So there's some huge leaps in this game. Plus, I find it more enjoyable to choose your character, your life path, and deciding the skills this way is far less tedious than it was for the first edition. These are huge upgrades and changes in how to create your character. Can't say enough about it. I'm really pretty impressed in this. With that, also your base hit numbers. This is how good you are at the shooty part of your game. In this case, is there a place for those numbers? There should be, I would think. You got tons of ammo counters over here, your weapon data, your vehicle card, your movement, your weapons and ammo. But really, I don't see a section on here for tracking You have solid contacts. Those are contacts that have been materialized through gameplay. And picking out equipment and property here, yeah. But, yeah, we're kind of, yeah, just $10,000 is not going to cover very much. But let's take a look real quick. This time I'm not going to do it off screen because, frankly, there's not a lot of reason to. It's not a lot of money, and considering my character's skills, I gotta talk myself out of trouble more than anything else. Almost all my skills are based under charisma. I have armed martial arts with a club. I have small arms with a pistol. No, actually, it's small arms in general, so I haven't had a cascade yet. It's just general small arms. So I can get a rifle or a pistol, no problem. Actually, yeah, my character would have been a hunter, so I would have taken small arms there, and the cascade for pistol would be 1. Rounding up. So, oh gosh. My character would probably have the lightest weight weapon possible. And since I am not... Let me check here real quick. As far as gear, I believe you start out with a certain amount of gear to start. Each character begins the game with a basic load of equipment and personal possessions, and a personal weapon. Depends on the character's army and should be selected from... Okay. Each officer receives a pistol. Characters get to roll for vehicles. Players may buy equipment. To determine equipment allowance, all items are listed. No equipment may be bought which cannot be carried in vehicles. Okay. So they're keeping that kind of narrative, and that your characters are on the run from a bad military encounter. And finally, each character can buy characters in service. Okay, let's look under personal language lists. Have no rank, so that's useful. And personal weapon. I get to start with a personal weapon. They would have handed me a gun the moment I kind of got attached with them. That would be fun things like the submachine gun, carbine, assault rifle, sniper rifle, shotgun, automatic rifle, machine gun, or pistol. Yeah. I'm thinking probably a submachine gun. It would be lighter weight and relatively easy to use and to find gear for. Let's see, that would be for an American, USA, the M231 submachine gun. M231. Oh, it looks a little bit like an AR-15. Here's where I expose my gun ignorance. I'm not really much into guns myself. Damage 2, rate of fire, so it's capable of auto fire. Not much penetration. Weight 3 kilos. What's that compared to an M16? So we go and look up the M16, the ubiquitous M16A2. Also 3 kilos. Rate of fire 3. It fires less. Okay. Damage is the same. You know, I need all the help I can get, so the spray and pray thing would probably work. My personal weapon then would be the M231 submachine gun. Okay. Basic load of equipment and a personal weapon. The basic weapon depends on the character's army. Character's transport. Alright, life and service, basic training. Experiences. Alright, I think at this point I am going to buy some gear, and I will wrap things up in my conclusion. So thanks for following along. This has been a character a bit briefer than the first edition, a little bit more enjoyable, certainly less math, no calculator needed, and we will come back to this when I'm finished with my gear. Hold tight. So there you have it. We have a finished Twilight 2000 2nd Edition character to compare and contrast to the Twilight 2000 1st Edition character that we made. And what a difference there is. Night and day. And that's not uncommon when editions change. Sometimes a new edition is just a new iteration of the old, and sometimes there's a huge change. There's few games out there that have creators that don't continue to tinker with the formula to perfect their creation, and that certainly was the case with Twilight 2000. Frank Chadwick and others in his design team left an indelible imprint, and that was clearly played out when we made these characters. So, what did we learn? Well, for one thing, simplification. It's less math, few formulas. It's all relatively simple addition, subtraction. Something that the game desperately needed in my mind. Not because the first edition was impossible to work with, impossible to make characters for. No, far from it. It was certainly possible. It was just, a bit cumbersome and tedious. In addition to that, there wasn't any wasted roles. Everything pretty much plugged into the system. There wasn't a derivative attribute or, of anything of any major issue. Even things like your hit points that your body can take was factored directly off of a single couple of stats. As far as many of the things like load and throwing range and weight, that's transferred directly over. Going with a D10 base system rather than a percentile system, mathematically, they're nearly the same. If you're rolling a D10, it's the same as rolling 100, just you're truncating it, you're getting rid of the ones place. Statistically speaking, that's not going to be a huge difference. It does, perhaps, impact for things that have a very, very minute chance. If you have that 1% chance or 2% chance, it's practically not worth rolling for. The least chance you have with a D10 is a 10% chance. So, honestly, I very rarely enjoy making players feel that they have almost no hope. But, even a 10% chance, you sometimes get lucky. Having the attributes directly interplay with the skills. All of the skills go along with an attribute and basically create the derived number, the target numbers that you are attempting to get. That's very useful in my mind. It does have a direct correlation between how skilled you are and how apt you are, the skills adding to one's aptitudes. As far as what we rolled, clearly it was an aberration. This was not the character I was attempting to assemble for you. What I was going to try to do was show you the robust possibilities of the military machine, going down different career paths so that you can expand upon your military capabilities and show that a soldier who stays in the service can eventually rack up considerable competency in the act of warfare. What we ended up getting was as far opposite of that as I could have done. with no soldierly backbone at all. Instead, we ended up making a politician, a rock star / politician. Now, far from exemplifying what the system is capable of, we really didn't delve into all of the different career paths for military. Made for a shorter video, true, because we would have had a lot to sort through and unpack and process. We were looking through a slight slice of what is available for the career pathing. What we still ended up doing is proving that this system is vastly more robust than the first edition. This character would not have been possible in the first edition. And while I question the character's usefulness in a wide variety of the actions within Twilight 2000, he's probably better suited as an NPC, somebody who may be a motivating force behind the actions of the actual group playing. Still, it's a fascinating character to put in this place and watch the curtains rise up and see what this character does to the storyline. Not with a single bullet or anything, but with being able to pull strings and, possibly motivate the players further. I can very much see this character, Senator LaRue, as a person who is a pro-military hawk who is attempting to get the unit home so that he can do two things. Number one, get them out of a theater that they no longer have any stakes in. By just following history, he could determine that, the Russian bear is all but dead. Even though they have forces here, they can't possibly hope to maintain an empire with their materiel being as shoddy as it is. Let's go home and try to solve the problems in the States. And secondly, his ambitions of coming home with a military force behind him and a very real need to put somebody in position to be running the show and working on the reconstruction of the United States. Why not a returning war hero, a Cajun senator who everybody liked and remembered from pre-war era, who can both entertain as well as lead and direct. So I definitely would like to see this character as a motivator for the group, somebody who works hand in hand with generals to try to use his influence to help out the unit, but also for his own motivations. If this character was dragged into a scenario where he had to work with the group, he would have a sidearm. He would have a 9mm parabellum pistol, which is somewhat concealable. But I would work very closely with the game master to let his $10,000 of gear instead be spent on simpler things: a staff car, a laptop, a satellite link phone, so that hopefully he can call to the States. I mean, the nukes happened on Earth. I would imagine the satellites weren't drastically changed. So he could possibly link to the States and try working on coordinating an extraction from their predicament. And of course, contacting other generals out in the field and seeing if he can consolidate the European force, the European theater American units together for a grand retreat to get out and return back to the States. Considering the rocky mess that NATO is in and the proximity of the forces for Europe, France, etc., Germany, the state that's in, I don't think this character would feel badly about trying to leave Europe. And if you had the scenario, instead of in Europe, you had it take place in the States, then this character is, again, perfect. His ability to influence, negotiate would be, excellently put to use for whatever the storyline takes. If you are trying to create a settlement that you're going to expand into a county, that you're going to expand into a state, and make a bid for, reunifying America, then this character would be excellent as a figurehead for that, or a motivating, driver for that. The fact that he has a little bit of combat skills and possibly, the rest of the group around him makes him a force multiplier not in a fight, but in the ability to maybe talk opponents down from fighting, to resolving things peacefully but in favor of the group. So it's a fascinating idea on what I can do with this character. Now, again, it's kind of a bit of an incomplete grade because we didn't look at all of the tasty options for the military. And we also didn't get to delve into all the gear that's available for the military. There's a robust selection, equally as strong, if not a little bit greater, than what was available in the first edition. So, that being said, Twilight 2000, we can't completely judge everything on that. But it gives a very, very strong showing, just showing that we can make this character who doesn't fit into the norms. After that, the hit capacity is essentially the same. Skills work out to be a bit different, but still within bounds of what you can play and what you can do. And as far as the combat looks like it's going to be fairly streamlined again from what we can see from this character, which isn't a great deal. He doesn't have fantastic fighting abilities. However, rather than coming down to percentile, it comes down to a D10. Again, as we said, the math works out to be roughly the same. As far as how was it to make this character, it was far, far more enjoyable than it was for the first edition. The life pathing system was entertaining and let me feel like I had a great deal of choice as I was going. The numbers didn't work out for me very well, but it still left me with enjoyable options. I could have drifted off from being an entertainer. I could have been anything from a factory worker. I could have upgraded my education and tried to have been a teacher or something. I could have been a soldier as well, but all the same, I feel very strongly about what my character was able to do. And along the way, I've got a pretty good respect for the system as far as what it's advanced to. All the changes seem to be pretty positive. It was fun to make this character. I laughed. Hopefully you laughed. And yeah, as far as this game, I certainly give it a passing grade. It's a perfectly fine game with an interesting scenario, decent mechanics. Again, nothing earth-shattering from other role-playing games. No vastly different mechanic, but what's there is very sound and rugged. From what we've learned from character creation. Yes, I think this is a game that I definitely recommend to people. Maybe a little tough to get it. It is long out of print, but still. Twilight 2000 2nd Edition. I submit it for the consideration of you, the people, my friends, my colleagues, those who also love the hobby. Possibly give this a thought. And next time you find yourself in the apocalyptic wasteland, perhaps you now have the game to typify your struggles and travails. I'm Rob, and I am letting this character witness rest. Thank you for your considerations. Farewell.